Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Janine Luby, aka Funny Wine Girl. If you've been listening to my podcast, and you really should be, shame on you if you're not, September is all about fabulous women in their 50s. I'm doing a special series, Fabulous 50s, because I turned 50 on September 3rd, and I am not shy about celebrating birthdays. I love to embrace life and talk to me in a few years, maybe I won't feel that way. And yes, I complain about heartburn and everything else, but I am happy to celebrate. And I wanted to spend September celebrating other women in their 50s. So that's what I've been doing on my podcast. Every week, there's a different woman I'm speaking with who has a wonderful story to share. I believe they can entertain, inform, and inspire, and just give you something to think about, to laugh at, and to learn. So this week's episode, I am talking with a former comedian, a woman who loves to be out in nature, which I totally can resonate with her on that. And she has an important health story to share as well. So please help me welcome Pam. Hello, Pam.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. How are you? I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, and I should say, Pam and I, you're probably the first guest that I'm talking to that I don't really quote unquote know in the real world. I have done comedy, but not at the level I will be, quick to tell you, not at the level that Pam has done comedy. I've done it mostly locally in Scranton. I do comedy at wineries, Jersey, Pennsylvania, but I've never done it super consistently. But I've met a lot of great people, I'll say a lot of great women comedians along the way. And that's how we became friends on Facebook. And of course, now we just love to look at each other's nature posts or hiking
Yes.
posts. So that's our story. But Pam, I don't know, wherever you want to begin, if you don't mind, I would just love for our listeners to hear about your background and your history in comedy because it's pretty darn impressive, I think.
Well, thank you. It's not for thank you. I always wanted to do comedy. My whole life, I was obsessed. I watched the Carol Burnett show. I watched anything that I could that had anything to do with comedy. So when I was 19 years old and I was in college, and you had to kind of establish your major, my father, who is Italian and a dentist, sat me down and he was like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, to tell you the truth, what I'd really like to do is be a stand-up comedian." And he leaned across the table and he was like, "Not an effing option." Except he didn't say the effing. And I mean, I was like, "All right, I'll just get my fat butt back to college." And but I always liked it. And so I was the vice president of a board of directors for a local organization here in Rochester that had a breast cancer organization that has a comedy fundraiser. Every year we'd have it at Jiva. And so I was very, vice president, meeting the comedian and whatnot. And then we all went out to drink. And so I got, a couple of glasses of wine in me. And I said to him, "Do you ever work with anyone who wants to get into the industry?" And I remember his face. And I know why now. I know why. Oh, because a lot of people think they're funny. And he was like, "Sometimes." And I said, "Well, because I'm really effing funny." And he spit his drink out and he was like, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And I repeated it. And so the next day he calls me and he says, "I got you on it was a showcase called A Festivus for the Rest of Us at the Comedy Club here in Rochester." And I was just like, "What?" No, I meant like when I grow up, I want to be a comedian, like not now. And he's like, "Well, it's tomorrow." I'm like, "Not tomorrow. Like, I can't do this. Are you okay? I was drunk, okay?" And he's like, "Well, I got you the spot." So I went, and I was the only female in this showcase, and I could have given birth to every single guy there. It was like, I don't know, 15 guys and me. Um, and I got up there, and lo and behold, people thought I was funny, and I was just telling stories. And so when I got off the stage, the manager from the comedy club walks up to me and he's kind of like this, and he's like, you know, who the F are you? And I was like, I'm Pam. And he's like, Pam, you're opening for Jamie Lissow next week. And I was like, open what? Like, I'm not qualified to open an envelope here. That was my first time on stage. I don't even know what open means. What does it mean? How long? What do you? And he's just walking away, and he was like, trial by fire. See you on Thursday. And that's it. Just went from there. And I've been able to perform. My first paid gig was opening for Richard Lewis.
Oh, wow.
Like, where do you go with that? Like, everybody else sucks after that. You're just like, oh, the Impractical Jokers. Good to see you. Yeah, no, it was, it just, I think part of my success was, I think when people look at me, they think one thing. And then when I'm up there on stage, I have the biggest pee-pee in the room, you know. I am all dude.
You own the room, right?
Well, listen, you know, I'm not like, hey, let's talk about persons and periods, you know, and that type of stuff. I'm kind of, Sam Kinison was, I mean, I remember the first time I heard him, and just that prowling and that energy. I kind of wanted to try to do a bad impression, I guess, of Sam, but definitely a nod to him. But yeah, I mean, nobody thought that it would kind of progress. I was just some old lady getting up on stage, you know.
That's pretty. You know what? I remember being young, and I liked Sam Kinison a lot. I just remember one of his jokes talking about stirring iced tea with his arm or something, and I just, of course, all the screaming, oh, all that screaming. He was just very entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the energy that you really connected with, and that you brought to the stage.
I try. I mean, I'm not nearly as good or as energetic as Sam, but I'm definitely. I think a lot of people, I mean, I've heard so many times that it annoyed me. In fact, even Norm Macdonald said this to me. He's like, I didn't think you'd be funny. You don't look like you'd be funny. And I'm like, well, I don't look like I'd gut you with a knife right now, but I might do that too. So, you know, or.
Isn't that the stupidest thing, though, to say about people about anything, really? Like, can we really tell by, oh, you don't look like you'd fill in the blank? Like, really?
Yeah. I was just like, all right. But I think that where I can win them over, because all of a sudden they're just like, holy crap, it's a dude, you know. And not that you have to be a dude to be funny, but I'm just more, I'm not as girly and as people initially think that I am when they meet me.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you not a hard time, but I'm going to just to that point. So like you said, you don't talk about purses and periods. But with that said, I think anyone, no matter who they are, if you're being authentic, I mean,
Oh,
and you're funny, you could talk about whatever the hell you want, right? I mean, I don't think you have to.
absolutely. I just think I used that off of I did a veterans show at a VFW. It was huge, and with Jess Miller, and I was outside on my cell phone, and this guy came out, older guy came out to have a cigarette, and he said, I almost walked out when you came up on stage because you just didn't look like you'd be funny. He's like, but I got to tell you, you know, he's like, I thought it was going to be all about purses and periods. And that was just like something that he used because that was his stereotype of female comics. You know, oh, they're going to talk about their period. Oh, no, you know. And it's like, no. But yeah, I mean, I've heard female comics talk about a lot of stuff that, I mean, period wise and whatnot, that I think I do a whole bit about a tampon falling out of my bra while I'm wearing a long skirt with two guys from Xerox that follow me that kills. but I think they think that we're going to get icky or whatnot. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just the phrase that I use. It's like,
yeah.
you don't, you can be funny talking about girl things, but not every female comedian is the same.
Right. 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 And nor should they be. But I
No.
think, I don't know, because I'm all pro women. I think I would believe you would agree there's double standards because it's like men are worried they don't want to hear about female, quote unquote, female issues, which I'm sorry, that's life. But,
Right.
they have no problem contributing to making a baby, but they don't want to hear about the rest of it. Too
Oh yeah.
bad. Right. But
Right.
how many comedians and some of my friends who run open mics who are so sick of men getting up and just doing
Talking
dick
about
jokes.
their
And
PP.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
PP,
that's the best you
farting,
got?
PP. Well, I think, and probably people are gonna hate me when I say this, but I don't care. I think that type of humor, that the majority of men that I know, 13 is, where they stop with it. So the PP jokes, the poopies, the farts, it's all funny to them. But I think women are much more sophisticated and complex with our comedy, because it isn't just a bunch of PP and fart jokes.
Yeah.
And I think men can easily, but it's a overwhelmingly male dominated field.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
How do you think, well, and because of your style maybe, but it sounds like you said you performed at Caroline's, right? So you've
Yep.
had good success. You've worked with amazing people.
Yes.
What are some things, let's say there's someone out there, and I think things have changed now. Like, I don't know if you're still performing, but I mean, based on what I'm seeing, because I mean, obviously I live in Scranton. I'm 2 hours from New York, but I'll admit I'm not, my goal is not to be doing this a lot. So I do my own shows. I do ladies nights at wineries. So I'm not there, but I think it's changing. Don't you think there's many, many more women comedians now getting opportunities. And I mean, at least from what I see, the people I'm friends with on Facebook and Instagram, it seems like it. I don't know if it's changing enough, but what do you think?
I think it is. I think it is. And I think it should. But I think that we got a long, long, long way to go. You know, I don't know of, if Amy Schumer pulled what C.K. Lewis did. I'm not so sure there would be legions of male comics backing her up on her comeback, and embracing her, and, oh, she made a mistake and whatnot. I don't think that would happen at all.
Yeah.
I think they'd crucify her,
Yeah.
and so I think that women are becoming I'm hoping more comfortable in their own skin, and following that gut to get up there, because I mean, we all know, I mean, the number one fear for human beings is public speaking, and
Yep.
comedy's like public speaking on crack methamphetamines. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to get up in a room full of people and get them to like you in 10 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. But
Yeah.
when you have that gut and you want to do it, there's nothing really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a high. And again, like I said, I haven't done major rooms or anything, but I know myself, I'm tired the next day, especially if I had a good show, because it's just such a high and I don't know about you, but it doesn't last for me. It's really exciting, but then I almost feel let down the next day because it was like such a rush. And I'm like, I feel good about myself for like a whole couple of hours and then I'm back to my usual insecurities. But
Right.
it would be nice to bottle it, that great feeling and keep it.
Yeah, I don't know who she is when she gets on stage, because I don't. We've never really met. We don't hang out. She's a lot more confident than I am, because before I go on stage, I mean, the negative recordings just start crescendoing to almost a jet engine level, and I wanna poop myself and barf at the same time. I'm so scared. But then once I pull that microphone out of the stand, it's like this other, it's like, no, I'm here and I'm good. And then I get off the stage, and then people will be like, oh, you did so good. And everything I did wrong is if there's 99 people in the room that love me and one person that hates me, that's the one I'm like, oh my God, I'm awful. I suck.
Yeah. I think that's a female thing. I mean, again, I don't want to make it like this totally anti-men, although lately I've been really kind of hating on men. But you just see so much confidence in them. It's like, like, oh, I could do that. And, they think they can do whatever. And whether they know information about it or not, where it's like women half the time, and I do this myself, like, well, I've only been doing this for 20 years. I think I can help you. We just don't do things with the same level of confidence, unfortunately. And but I think it is changing. Like I said, as more women are getting out there, they're taking the risk, because once they do it, and I think that's great. Do you have like a favorite show, or favorite moment, or favorite anything of the time that you've been spending doing comedy?
Wow. Um, I'd have to say, when Anna Phillips and I were doing Chicks Are Funny at the Syracuse Funny Bone, Anna headlined our 1 year anniversary, and then I headlined the 2 year anniversary, and it sold out. And they put chairs on the sides going down to accommodate like 90 some odd people from Rochester all drove, you know, to Syracuse. And I was, in that like negative, oh God, all these people, I'm awful, nobody's gonna like me, I'm gonna fall, I look fat, I don't want to do this, um and uh and I was walking by a table of women, and I heard them say, "Oh, this is chicks are funny," and then one of them goes, "Oh, that's the host. She's the best one," And I just turned and looked, and they're like, "We love you. We come see you every month," and it made like I wish I could find who they are and just sit them each down and be like, "You don't even know just that." Just that was, I was just like, all right, I can do these 6 people like me. So even if everybody else thinks I suck, these 6 people like me, and I can do it. So yeah, that really like gut punched me, and
Yeah.
I used it lots of times when I'd be scared to go on stage. I think of that moment and be like, "You can do this. Get up there." But
Are you still performing? I know COVID changed it for a lot of people with
yeah,
all the Zoom and stuff, but are you getting back into it, or where are you at with it?
I am happily done with it. I loved it, but it was a lot of travel. I mean, I work full time. My husband works full time. You gotta, we're driving. I'm hosting every month in Syracuse, and then hosting every other month because Anna and I traded off in New Hartford or in Hartford, and that's a middle of the week. You got to drive all the way there. You got to do the show, like you said. You're exhausted the next day. Drive all the way back. Go to work the next day. It was just like, and I think that once that that feeling of like when I started, I would have driven 500 miles for $50 for a free show. I've performed at the bowling alley by a bowl return. I loved doing that, but when it starts being like, I just don't want to do the track, I don't want to go, and it's just like, but I will do it. I've done it for fundraisers. I did a show for Jess Miller when she had her comedy club. So I'll do it for like friends and whatnot, and to raise money if somebody wants me to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's so you could still feed that part of you, every now and again. Just not the work part of it. I could totally understand that gets really tiring, to the travel and everything, especially when you have a
But
day job. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a lot. So let's pivot a little bit, because before, and again, like I said, I didn't really know you, but you shared something interesting. You had kind of a scary situation, a health situation, and I think it's always good, no matter what the illness is or the ailment, whatever, and you've come through it, people can always learn. I think it's always good for them to hear about your situation because it could affect them. It could affect someone in their family. And now, I mean, you're healthy, you're hiking, and you're living a great life, enjoying nature. So I'd love for you to share the story that you were telling me before a little bit about your health and what happened there.
Sure. I had the flu, and then shortly thereafter I had these intense abdominal pains. And I was just like, so I look up on WebMD, and it said that, abdominal pains after the flu are very common. So I just thought, okay, it's fine. And then it kept getting worse and worse and more and more. And it got to the point where I would have to stop in a meeting at work and just be like, hang on, hang on. But like most women, I'm like, I'll tough through it. It'll be fine. And I did that for like 2 weeks, and it just got to the point where it was excruciating. And I went to urgent care, and they did an X-ray of my abdomen, and they told me I was constipated. So I was like, all right, now I know what's wrong. They give me this metocitrate or something to drink, but it doesn't help. It's getting worse. And and I know this sounds crazy, but like by Sunday night, I'm definitely not a pill taker. I don't like pharmaceutical drugs. They make me nauseous. I just don't like them. But by Sunday, I had started taking some leftover painkillers that my husband had, just a little bit to kind of ease the pain. And it was like a woodpecker in my head, my grandma, who's passed, but it was just, Monday morning, 8 o'clock, Monday morning, 8 o'clock, go to the doctor's, Monday morning, you got to get up tomorrow morning and you got to go. And so I got up Monday morning and I went, and it was a different urgent care. And then they sent me to get a scan of my abdomen. And I went, and Larry and I were sitting in the waiting room, and it was like every door in the place just opened up, and everyone came running in, and they're like, you need to go to the hospital right now. Which hospital do you want to go to? You need to go now. And I was just like, well, I got to go home. I got to get PJs. I don't know what and they're like, the guy's like, I'm not kidding you. I will call an ambulance if you can't commit to me that you're going. And I thought, all right, and I went, and what had happened was my colon had perforated. And so I was in severe sepsis. I was not doing well at all. My husband said I looked gray. And at one point, they even took him outside the room and told him, probably not going to make it. This is not good. And he was like, you don't know my wife. She'll throw punch Jesus if she has to. if she's not gonna go, she's not going. And so I had emergency surgery, and then I was in, and you know how hospitals are nowadays. They'll like drop kick you out. Well, this shows you how sick I was. I was in surgical ICU for a week.
Wow.
I had been cut from stem to sternum. I had a drain. I had an IV. I had all these sticky things on me with this black box with wires, which is, to monitor my heart. I had a bag. So I had a colostomy bag that was temporary, but still, I mean, I was 49 years old, and I didn't expect any of this to happen. And so I had the bag for 6 months, and then they did a reattach. So they let the colon heal, and then reattached everything, and I got rid of the bag. But nothing in my life ever has changed who I am, what I am, in my entire life. I mean, I'm like a completely different human being. I don't even know who I am. Completely different. And I was never out in the woods girl. But so after I had the reattached, I was in the hospital for a week, and all they'd let me eat were ice chips. I mean ice chips for a week when like Wendy's commercials were starting to become sexually arousing at that point. I was so hungry. I was just like, oh my God.
Oh
Kevin
man.
Means about Gordon Ramsay. Um,
I love him.
yeah. And it just, I remember saying to myself, I am never not, I am going to be outside every single day, unless it's like an ice storm or thunder and lightning. I'm out there. I'm out there in the rain. I'm out there in the snow. And that was when I was 49. I'll be 54 in at the end of September. So this change was, it's inside. It's not going, it's not like a temporary change in somebody. We're coming up on 5 years in February, and I'm
Oh
out
wow.
there every day.
Wow. Did you have any, or did they ever explain, is this something you could have prevented, or did you have any clue anything was going on with your health?
I had no idea. I had diverticulitis, ostis, whatever. I had the non-inflamed, and then I had the inflamed one, which caused this whole problem. But I never, like, I get up in the morning and I have a poopy. I don't think about it. It's just, I never thought about my poopy. It just happened. So, and I never had any moments where I thought, oh God, I don't feel good. Nothing. But I am telling you right now, you get a pain anywhere, go, 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 go. Because I think that had I gone sooner and it had been addressed, I wouldn't have had to go through what I went through. And I was fortunate that I got the chance to go through what I went through, you know.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I don't know if you did shows after that. Did you ever do any jokes tied to your health? Because that's a pretty damn big deal, what you went through.
It is. I thought, like, I mean, because this is, your podcast, I'll tell you one story that I thought was hysterical, but I decided not to do it on stage. And that was when I was getting better. I had a visiting nurse, because once you are at that level of sepsis, many times, even if you survive the surgery, your organs shut down, your heart, your kidneys, and whatnot. So that's why I had this heart monitor. I had, so much stuff. And so I had this visiting nurse, and she was phenomenal. And she said to me, so, you can go back to kind of regular activity. And I said, well, what does that mean? Like, what? And she said, well, like, sex. You can have sex again. And I was like, who's having sex? And she's like, well, you can have sex. And I'm like, I have a bag of poop hanging off the side of my body. Like, who's having sex? And she's like, well, I can give you a pretty sash to cover it. I'm like, but he knows the bag of poop's there. I know the bag of poop's there. I'm going through the Kama Sutra right now, and there isn't one part of my body that doesn't, one position that doesn't involve the side of my body. Like, I don't care if he gets calluses from, doing whatever he needs to do. Nobody's having anything. And she was like, so hard. And she's like, you need to do that. But then I was like, I know it took me 30 days, a whole month before I would leave my house, because I was embarrassed and scared. And can you smell it? Can you smell it? Can you smell it? And I didn't want anyone that was in the audience that either had one or has one. I don't need to go there and make them feel like poopy. But it was a funny story, because I was just like, what are you talking about? But the one story that I do tell is, one thing about having the bag is, when you pass gas, there's no scrunching it in, there's no holding it, there's no warning. You're just talking to somebody, and all of a sudden it's like, and you're like, that had to be you because that couldn't have been me. So I was absolute. I can't smell, so I was like obsessive about, can you smell it? Can you smell it? Can you smell it? Can you smell it? And my nurse would say to me, Pam, they can't, unless it's leaking or it's detached, they can't smell, just relax. And so I was sitting there and I had my dog, and her head was on my upper left thigh and the bag was on my left side, and it was a brand new bag, nothing in it, but I was farting like Jesus was writing me checks to do it. I mean, it was just like nonstop. And I look, and of course, I didn't think about this, but like the bag is filling up. Like I'm about to float around this room like some Macy's Day Thanksgiving balloon, because this bag is starting to fill up with just gas, and it was just gas. It was perfectly clean. So I'm like, well, I'll just open the bag and let out the gas. Well, I let out the gas. The dog didn't even use her legs. She just flung her body off the couch and is doing some sort of full body canine dry heave, where she's just like, oh, oh, oh. And I am dying. And I thought, well, and then she gets up on the far part of the couch and looks at me like, you nasty. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that is so funny. And when I told my husband, he's like, our dog licks her own butt and you managed to gross her out. But yeah, so that one I don't mind telling because
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I don't know, like, based on what you've done in the past, but it really does seem that it's best to use what we have in our own lives, right?
oh
To
yeah,
write our own jokes a lot of times, and it can be therapeutic. And sometimes, okay, maybe you might gross out somebody or offend somebody with certain things, but other people might relate and connect. I mean, for, like I said, again, I'm not that I'm trying to belittle what I have done, but like I said, I haven't done that much comedy, but people who know I do it, it drives me crazy that they'll be like, "Oh, I have a joke for you," or "Oh, I have a story for you." And it's like, I know they mean well, but it's like, why would I want to tell your story when, I mean, honestly, everybody has something going on. I
right.
do a joke about mammograms and how they be made better with wine. And, I'm a
Absolutely.
standardized patient at the medical college and I get pelvic exams from students and I talk about having a gang pap. I mean, that's my stuff. Why? And I've actually had a guy, yes, a guy, nice enough guy, but he actually wrote his situation that he went through at the supermarket and sent it to me in a monologue kind of format and told me I could use it. He even had pauses written in there
Yeah,
for me where I could take a pause. And again, nice man, but I'm like, yeah, no, this, and I even wrote back to him. I said, if you ever find an open mic, and that would be great, you should try it. But I don't need your story,
right.
but we have so much in our own lives to use. I mean, when I did improv, we read the book Truth and Comedy. And let's face it, there's comedy in our lives everywhere. It's from the pain usually, but that's where we
Yeah,
heal and where we're being real and honest with each other and the audience, I think.
absolutely. People would say to me, well, what's comedy like? And I said, we're just this damaged group of people, and I don't mean damaged in a bad way, like insecurity. Some are damaged, some not. But there's something there's something not wrong with you, but there's something not normal to the masses if you want to get up in a room full of people you don't know, try to get them like that, not like you, like but think you're funny in 10 minutes. So, or when you're starting out, you got 7.5 minutes. What the 7.5 minutes? Like if I go over like 7:32, what happens? And you got to get up there and do it, and that's terrifying. But I think it is very healing,
Yeah.
and I think that when you can, and I think anyone who does comedy probably has already done comedy in the sense of, let me make fun of what's wrong with me before you can. It's like a defense mechanism. It's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
okay, so you're gonna make fun of my retainer. Guess what? I'm gonna do it first. and then your joke's lame, you know.
Yeah, and that's Judy Carter. I don't know if you've read her comedy Bible, and I took one of her workshops in New York, and that's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure she's not the only one that says this, but that's the premise, right? If you're, someone who's, a large-bodied person, or you have a big nose or whatever, you go out there and you're like saying, okay, I'm aware, I see it, I know, and now I'm gonna joke about it. And
Right.
I taught public speaking for about 7 years. I was a part-time instructor at a college here
Wow.
close by in Kings, and
Okay.
I was the only instructor that had them do a comedy monologue as one of their speeches. I thought it was important, and we talked about that. And it's not easy, and it's also not easy to teach in like 2 weeks, just to get them up there. And I wanted them to make it personal. So it wouldn't be like, okay, don't do jokes just making fun of the school, other people. Like, make it personal. And
Right.
we talk about from the book, Judy's book, your pain points. What are they? And you don't have to go too serious if it's not comfortable, but I had students do jokes and monologues about being a diabetic, about how they always had to carry food with them and gummy bears. And, the one kid was a swimmer. So he joked about having to have waterproof food because, and that's
Right.
great. I think and a certain level, I don't want to say a level, but certain kids could get it and certain kids couldn't,
Right.
and that's okay. I mean, it
Right.
was an opportunity
Right.
for them.
It's not for everybody, but I think that once and it being an audience member in other things, once I have a commonality, once I have a bond with you, then I'm going to receive you. I'm going to hear you better. So when someone can poke fun at who they are, what they are, or whatnot, everybody has insecurities. So there's a whole room full of people who have insecurities that are just like, been there, and they laugh because you are able to bring it in the forefront and not make it scary.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Because
in a couple of my audiences, I've had people when I do my gang pap joke, I've had a couple who are like, "Oh my God, my son's a medical student," or "Oh my God, my brother's a med student," or "My husband,
oh yeah.
have you had him?" It's like, well, I don't know. Let me see his hands. I have to let you know. I don't know.
I'll send a picture. You send it to him. See if he's seen this.
Let's text. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, there are those there's they're the mean hecklers, you know. I had one guy that just would not stop yelling, show us your boobs and whatnot. And but the other ones, as long as you can manage them, they just want to be part of it. And it's, I judge everything with malice. Are you coming from malice, or are you genuinely coming from a good place? It may be coming out wrong, but your heart is in a good place. And a lot of the times those people are having a good time and they want to be a part of it, and as long as you can manage them, because sometimes they're just so dang annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not real good at that. I did the one winery show we did with Megan Hanley was with me then. That was years ago. There was a school, this was at a winery, a school bus full. And I don't deal well with hecklers. I don't deal well with people who are trash because my thing is when you're trash, like they didn't want to listen to comedy, and I'm not going to stand and try and win them back all night. They were young, 20 something. They were literally like laying, like falling off their chairs, not from laughing, but from being drunk. And
Right.
it kind of ruined it for my audiences with the ladies nights, the comedy nights are usually a little bit older, so it's like 35, 40, even to 60. That's the audience I like. They like what I have to say and the people I usually bring with me. And these younger girls were literally like passing out, and it kind of ruined it for the rest of the people who were there. But I've
Right.
never really been good at addressing, because it's like if you ignore someone who's a heckler or talking or whatever, then they can take over. And
Right.
or if you sound like you're being a jerk to them, then you could kind of lose them
Make it
too.
worse. Right.
Yeah, and make it worse. But mine has been like sometimes women can be bad where they're just chatting,
Oh
and
yeah.
then just being
They're
chatty
talking to
Cathy's.
their
But
friend and it's like,
yeah,
yo, I'm not on TV. I can see you, you know,
exactly.
shut your
Yeah.
pie hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've had friends say though too, and I have to, this is like the school teacher in me where I have to stop. No one wants to be chastised or lectured. Sometimes they're actually like connecting with you because they like the joke you just said.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, that's like the time. And they're kind of like chatting about it. So that then you're like, okay, so they're just kind of like having a moment. So
Right. If it doesn't come, I mean, if they're, I meant chatting, like talking to one another, because I've had
yeah, yeah.
talking to one another. But yeah, I think that the key is sometimes to just get get the crowd on your side. You know, the guy that was yelling, show your boobs, show your boobs, show your boobs, show your boobs. I was just like, I'm panicking inside. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Like, I might dive off the stage and start fighting with this guy. And I was just like, all right, Spanky, all right, all right. We're all aware you didn't get a prom date, all right? Just take it down a notch. We're sorry that no one wanted to go to prom with you. And then he was like, yelling, and I said, I knew that I would have to deal with hecklers. I'm like, I just didn't think the first one would be the first guy in the room that could whack off with a Cheerio and not break it. And like everyone started laughing, so I kept calling him Cheerio. So he'd say something, I'm like, "Shut up, Cheerio!" And it got to the point where the crowd took over, and he's like, and they're like, "Shut up, Cheerio!" They're just like, he just was like, "Okay,"
That's powerful though when you have the whole crowd, the whole audience on your side. That like
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was just like they just kind of took over the role for me, and they were much better because there was a lot of them. So
There's power in numbers, right?
absolutely,
Strength in numbers.
yeah, you get a little
Well,
thing.
I don't want to I want to wrap up soon here, but I just wanted to give you the chance. So to get back to just for to be serious for a moment,
Yeah,
obviously that situation changed your life, as you said. Now you don't miss a day outside. I see your post on Facebook and I just I mean, I'm someone who likes to kayak, bird watch. I was watching the birds this morning. I got super excited because a hummingbird was literally coming at me. It was
yeah.
the coolest thing. I love it. Is it because of the seriousness that you're just like, okay, I'm not going to miss a damn thing, that made you feel that way or
I made like certain promises to God, universe, goddess, whatever anyone believes, um, because I survived. And one of them was that I would never waste a day. I was gonna be outside. I was gonna start doing things, and I, honest to God, I feel more connected to God in the or universe or whatever anyone believes, the light, in the woods more than I ever have anywhere else. And it's just it's sacred to me. It's something that I just have to do. And last year I climbed my first high peak of the 46 in
wow.
Adirondacks. And this year we're going up in October. It's our 25th wedding anniversary, and I'm climbing another one. And I couldn't have done this stuff at 35, and I'm going to be 54. And it's just a matter of, if you like you said, like you love it. It is where my zen is. It brings everything all into focus on what's really important.
That's great. That is, I mean, and congratulations on that. That's awesome what you're doing as far as that, like those peaks and hikes. I
Yeah,
would love to do that one day. That's pretty strenuous, right? That's a big deal.
it is. I mean, they aren't, the high peaks and whatnot, because it's like, there's trails that we hike, and there's, some of them are hilly and rough, but these climbing these mountains, it's kind of like a washed out riverbed that you're climbing up. And so it's these massive rocks with these massive roots and trees, and it's, maneuvering through it. So it is strenuous, but like I said, I'm hooked. I mean, we're going this year, and I'm 1 year older, and I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it till I can't do it anymore.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Anything else that you wanted to mention or to say just for yourself that you just wanted to share? Anything else at all?
No, I think that embrace your 50s. I think we are, it's the ascension into the crone, if you will. There's the maiden, the mother, the crone. Crone sounds bad, but I think this is the point where we stop being who everybody wanted us to be and just be who we are. And it's a beautiful time to kind of find your that piece or whatever it is, that part that's been missing. It's you're the part that's been missing. So just follow your gut, shed the BS, and just be true to yourself. And it doesn't matter if people like it or think you're weird or this or anything. Just the 50s are amazing. Just own who you are and love it, and just don't let any of that bull crap affect you. And I think that that's the beauty of the 50s, is getting more. I'm smarter in who I am, what I'll tolerate, and what brings me joy.
Well said. Well, I could not say it any better, and I'm thrilled to be part of a group that I think is amazing. I'm happy to have turned 50, and
Great
I'm
group.
looking forward to what's ahead. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much,
Thank
Pam.
you.
You were a delight. You're a hoot. I enjoyed talking to you,
We got
and
to hike.
I so definitely would love to hike with you sometime. And your
Yeah.
pictures are just fabulous. I know that we have that same appreciation for nature. That's just, and like you said, your place of zen. I feel, and I mean, we know the research shows for forest therapy, nature just heals us in a way that so many other things can't. So
Yeah.
it's a lovely feeling. Yeah. So I want to thank my listeners. Thank you for joining me. And this has been Janine Luby, aka Funny Wine Girl. I hope you'll tune in next week. We have a couple more wonderful, fabulous women that will close out our September. October is going to be a great month as well. I've got some folks sharing their coming out stories. It's Halloween, so we've got some scary stuff coming. Scary and funny, of course. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you follow your bliss and be strong. Have a great day, everybody.